Fortnite crew today. We're taking a look at the tournament that just wrapped up. So I have to say, just before recording this, I took a good look at Michael Kelsch's team, and I used it on ladder. And did I throw multiple games? Yes. But did I understand the sheer value of freaking Gengar and Swampert, and now understand how that managed to win the whole tournament? Yeah. We're going to talk about that today. If you guys enjoyed, leave a like, subscribe. But let's begin. The VR tournament. This is, I believe they host these every weekend, so there should be 2 more VRs until the World Championships, and there's no official tournaments until the World Championships. So these tournaments are our best look into what we can expect to see at Worlds this year. And man, let me tell you something, this has to be the most impactful VR top cut that we have had in a long time, because while there is a lot of Charizard and there is a lot of Raichu Staraptor, a new archetype has been summoned. Michael Kelsch, MDB, used a Gengar and Swampert team to win the whole thing. You might be wondering, is it Perish? It's Gengar, a Swampert, an Incineroar, a Sneasler, and a Ninetales. 2 possible Pokemon that like do well on Perish. Well, I guess like 4 of these Pokemon do well on Perish, but is it like a Perish Ninetales? No, it's actually just control. And I think that this is one of my favorite control teams I've seen in a long time. It's no wonder why it did so well in this event. Let me show you the paste. This team utilizes a Choice Scarf Alolan Ninetales with an Incineroar, a Life Orb, Inner Focus Dragonite, meaning it cannot be flinched or intimidated, a Focus Sash Unburdened Sneasler with Rock Slide, a Substitute Shadow Ball and Sludge Bomb Gengar, Mega Gengar, and a Leftovers Flip Turn High Horsepower Yawn Swampert. Let me tell you something. The team cooks. It cooks so many different archetypes. And the reason is, this is literally just a pinning team, it would seem. Leading Gengar in either Swampert or Incineroar is so good. Because when you lead Gengar and your 2 pivot Pokemon, there are many different outcomes that can happen. When I was playing the team, would lead Gengar and click either Protect or Substitute, analyze the other Pokemon on the other side of the field, and then select the Pokemon that I wanted to go into next. Because when you switch out the partner Pokemon and you Mega Evolve, you lock everything on the field that isn't a Ghost type or a Pokemon with Shadow Tag. So usually every Pokemon. You lock down basically every Pokemon on the field and you pivot out of there, and you get on the field a Pokemon that is capable of dealing with the situation in front of you. If you see a Garchomp, you just protect the Gengar, flip turn or parting shot out, get in the Choice Scarf Ninetales. Choice Scarf Ninetales is beautiful here because not only is Choice Scarf Ninetales like immediate speed control, but it's also a hard counter to Gengar or to Garchomp, because there will never be a Garchomp that can deal with you unless you're Focus Sash, which statistically speaking is not very common. As I pull this up, I can show you just how many just how many Garchomp are currently Focus Sash. Garchomp. Look at it. Doubles, Season M5. Life Orb, Citrus Berry, Choice Scarf, Garchompite, Roselli Berry. Focus Sash is at 1%. There is a 1 in 100 chance that Garchomp will be able to deal with this duo. So, Blizzard just gets rid of it. That's incredible, right? You see you see a Charizard across the field. Protect, flip turn out, parting shot out, and then you get in your Rock Slide Sneasler. But Sneasler, is also able to deal with a bunch of different Pokemon, and it's able to deal with King Gambit, which is frustrating for King Gambit players because Gengar usually doesn't want to have to, get sucker punched. You can just substitute on the King Gambit sucker punch and then go for close combat and deal with it, and you get multiple opportunities because it's a Focus Sash Sneasler. Dire Claw is able to deal with Sylveon, not that Gengar doesn't already deal with it, and then just close combat for everything else. If you're playing against Sand, Sneasler's like super good. Swampert's also super good, because one thing we haven't talked about yet is the fact that Swampert is running High Horsepower, Flip Turn, and Yawn. It is a minimum speed Swampert because you want to make sure that you switch out as soon as possible, or as late as possible, to get things in for free. Usually a Focus Sash Sneasler or like a Ninetales or Dragonite, you just don't want to take damage on those. But you also have Yawn. Gengar is able to Yawn trap so many Pokemon by going for Substitute turn 1, yawn on the opposing Pokemon that is giving you problems, whether it be a Staraptor or whatever, and then on the next turn, protect or substitute, whichever one you didn't click the previous turn, or maybe you substitute twice for all we know, and then it goes to sleep. And then suddenly, that turn, when you flip turn out, you deal with the you switch in the Pokemon that can deal with the opposing sleeping Pokemon. Usually Ninetales, sometimes Dragonite, and then you just get rid of it. It really is just a pinning down important Pokemon sort of team and then just dissecting it. And it's definitely the type of team that I would expect Michael Kelch to like absolutely thrive with. It is so interesting just how strong this team is. Did I lose a bunch of games using it? Yeah, because it's frankly not an easy team to play. Like when I say it out loud, it feels easy, right? And then when you actually play it, you go, nah, this is like some advanced Pokemoning. You know, this is advanced Pokemon. And I really, really like that about the team. It's so interesting because of that. Anyways, I can't hype this team up enough. It is so cool. Next team, second place, we see more of what we've seen before. It is Raichu, Aerodactyl, Basculegion, Sneasler, and Sylveon, and Kingambit. Now, granted, prior to this, it usually was like a Staraptor with the Raichu, but I can see why Aerodactyl with the Megastone is pretty reasonable as an alternative there. And it's because Aerodactyl Sylveon is one of the more oppressive duos in the format. If you're not playing against like a Tailwind Whimsicott or an opposing Mega Aerodactyl Sylveon, there's not much that they can do to prevent you from just Tailwinding up, getting huge damage with Hyper Voice, and then sending in the cleanup crew, aka Kingambit and Basculegion, right? That duo is incredible. And if you want to use the Raichu variant instead, then it's just Mega Raichu with a bunch of bulk, and you're able to kind of do more or less the same thing. You have Fake Out, you have Hyper Voice, you have Zap Cannon for permanent speed control, and then you just do the cleanup crew. But the difference with the Raichu variant is that Raichu is even scarier in certain situations because suddenly it's not about stalling out a Tailwind, it's about just not getting paralyzed in the first place, because you will always be slower than Kingambit. You will always be slower than the bulky Mystic Water Basculegion. And Sneasler's just there to be Sneasler. It's so, like, this is a scary team right now. Did I not put enough respect on Raichu's name at the start of the format? Yeah, I was on team it dies to Sucker Punch, but it's adjusted the way that it plays. It is so good right now. You're able to Zap Cannon. You're able to like live hits that it wasn't supposed to be able to live, because now you're running a lot of HP and a lot of special and a lot of physical defense and not much special attack, because frankly, you don't need it with Zap Cannon. You're 2-hit KOing the same Pokemon. You're one-shotting the same Pokemon with Focus Blast, and it's about the speed control. That's all it is, right? And now we see a more traditional Staraptor team. This team does have a Trick Room variant on it, though. Staraptor and Raichu, that duo with, like, you know, the Basculegion. It is weird not seeing Kingambit or Sylveon on this kind of team. Typically speaking, you want those because you want your Pokemon that are slow to be able to actually outspeed things after the Zap Cannon. This isn't the case on this team. I think this is really interesting because, I don't know. It feels like the Farigiraf is there for 3 reasons. Farigiraf is there's a Trick Room mode that you can play with the Torkoal, right? Sometimes you just fish an easy matchup with the Trick Room Torkoal. That's a thing that happens, right? But it feels like that's not actually Farigiraf's role in the team. I feel like Trick Room Torkoal isn't what the team is probably going to want to go for most of the time. I think it's usually just going to be block the Sucker Punch outright for Basculegion and Raichu. And look, you're running a Liquidation Focus Sash Basculegion. You have a little bit more leeway there. Life Orb Sneasler is really cool because you will need to make sure you pick up as many KOs as possible. It's just really interesting seeing a variant of the team where there isn't like a mid-speed Pokemon like Kingambit or Sylveon to be that scary spread damage. They just lean into the, hey, I already got the Farigiraf on the team, I might as well have a Trick Room option, and just go Torkoal. So yeah, Torkoal is kind of like a stand-in for the Sylveon here. It just feels weird, but it, you know, it did well. You can't really like discount that. This channel is partnered with Gamersupps. If you want to support my work and get great tasting drinks, you can order Gamersupps through my link in the description down below, or with code Moxie boosted at checkout for 10% off. Gamersupps is a caffeinated product that I recommend only to my 18+ viewers, but my link will send you to their caffeine-free product section just in case. Every product purchased through my link supports my channel financially, so I'd really appreciate the support. Now back to the video. All right. As for 4th place, we have Liu Chi, who ran a more or less standard-ish Zard Toxapex team that's been running around. Feels weird to say standard Zard Toxapex, but we know how Toxapex functions on Zard teams. Infestation lets you trap things in with Zard and Garchomp. It kind of plays similar to the Gengar team, right? Where you're using this annoying poison type to trap Pokemon in with Pokemon that they're not able to deal with, like a Scarf Garchomp. You know, if you Infestation that Charizard, it's not going to take the Rock Slide. That's what I really like about this team. There's not much to say. This team's been running around forever. I just think that, like, we got to acknowledge that there's a real chance that Toxapex is a world champion this year. As a matter of fact, this might be one of the more interesting world championships. I got to put my 2 cents out there. I know that Charizard's probably going to win the world championships. However, I really like the way this meta looks. Is there a lot of Charizard? Yes. But I really enjoy the fact that the big archetypes right now are these speed control Pokemon. Like, there's a lot of RNG, don't get me wrong. Rock Slide, Zap Cannon, that's annoying, right? Don't like it. However, I really like the different types of teams that we see. I like that Aerodactyl's in contention because it's one of the better speed control mons. I like the fact that Raichu is able to make these mid-speed Pokemon even scarier and find a place in the metagame. And I like that Michael Kelch is able to throw in this freaking Gengar Swampert team that is able to disassemble half the teams in the metagame. What does freaking Raichu do to Gengar Swampert? Let me tell you something, not much, because you just protect and you KO the freaking Raichu before it can do anything. It is so cool. All right. Sign a note. We look further down, we see more of the Charizard weather, dual weather stuff going on. Alex Underhill recently did really well with this. He's doing well with it again. I would argue that's probably going to be his Worlds team if he's still getting in reps with this. Interesting thing about this sort of like World cycle is it feels like going into Worlds, there are a lot of teams that can be really strong right now, and there's a lot of teams that are just known. And frankly, I don't know if this is going to be a hidden tech kind of world championships where something comes out of the blue and suddenly wins the whole thing because they had the tech to do it. I think that Michael Kelch probably just blew that all with the Gengar. But I think that this Worlds is going to be one of the more skill-based Worlds, which feels weird coming off of NAIC where it was Rock Slide City, right? We might see that again for all I know. I might be eating my words. It might just be Rock Slide City again. However, I really like that we're going in with a bunch of different archetypes that are established, whether it be Charizard Rain, whether it be Charizard Venusaur, like Hyper Offense, like just pure Sun with Toxapex, whether it be the Raichu Staraptor or Star Fox, or the Gengar stuff that we're seeing right now. I like that it really is just a bunch of people going in and more or less kind of representing their main team archetype. They're kind of like a fighting game, how there's a bunch of, you know, there's like 10 characters in like old fighting games, right? But there are people who are getting in reps of that character and they know their matchups. I like that it is more or less kind of a centralized metagame, but it's centralized around a bunch of different things that are really good. So yeah. And there's even things that just do well enough, you know. There's like these mid tiers that maybe might pop off if they have the right schedule or like the right or like the you know, the right move sets to just counter what they really need to. Like we still see Delphox Blastoise getting top 16. We see literally a Blaziken in top 16. I think that's cool. We still see Sand running around. Milotic still got a place, and of course we have the never changing Frostlass archetype, which actually changed here. There's a Dragonite and a Arcanine, which I think is kind of cool. Usually it's a Lycanroc. Yeah, sometimes it's Arcanine and still, but it's the Dragonite. The Dragonite's kind of new. And usually it's like a bulky Basculegion. So that's a different type of Frostlass, worth looking into. But yeah, I think that, like, yes, is the top 60, is like the top 8 still kind of the same? Like from what we've seen for a lot of formats? Yeah. But I think broadly speaking, I really like what we have. And I like that like these like established team archetypes are being pushed to their like most like, you know, reasonable conclusions. You know, it makes sense that like Sand would want to use Staraptor on it with a Milotic to avoid Intimidate as much as possible while also still having the option to run physical attackers. It makes sense that, you know, Frostlass is cycling through 3 different rock types next to it, whether it be Gamora, Arcanine, or Lycanroc. And it makes sense that you run the dual Mega Delphox and Blastoise because frankly, they love all the Pokemon next to them. Like they just have common friends. It's really cool. And then we still have the day 1 team. This was the day 1 team of the format. We have Citrus Berry Garchomp. We have a, you know, Weather Ball, Heat Wave, Mega Charizard Y. We have a, not Life Orb Basculegion. Usually it was like some other item like a scarf or something back in the day. But now there's a Life Orb in game, so there it is. We have a Sash Whimsicott, and we have Choppleberry, 4 attacks Kingambit, and a 3 attacks Floette. It is literally just the day one team, and that's still performing. Someone mentioned that we should probably talk about the Mega Arrow, Mega Dragonite team. Yeah, I skipped over that because I want to come back. Mega Arrow, Mega Dragonite. That's a pairing that I don't think we've seen too much in Top Cuts. However, if you really look at what it is under the hood, it really is just what I lovingly refer to as Mega Arrow Sylveon plus Cleanup Crew. The Dragonite would make sense here as a matchup patch to things that Aerodactyl Dragonite don't want to deal with. Or sorry, not Aerodactyl Dragonite. Aerodactyl Sylveon don't want to deal with. Dragonite has Dragon Pulse, Heat Wave, Extreme Speed. I would say that this is probably showing up to... I'm trying to think what Aerodactyl Sylveon really don't like as far as Mega pairings. Probably Blastoise. Blastoise doesn't hit Mega Dragonite all that hard, but you would imagine it have something else. I'm actually not sure what it's here for. It's not... Is it there for Rain? Probably not. Like, it doesn't beat Rain on its own. Like, Sneasler and King Gambit and Basculegion, that's kind of their job. And even then, Sylveon Aerodactyl does that. I'm actually not sure what the Dragonite's here for. I'm not sure what it's really, like, beating. It doesn't have Tailwind, so you're not able to, like, use that as an alternative to the Aerodactyl for that, like, purpose. It could just be that, like, Sneasler Dragonite's, like, a good duo, and it does, like, fairly well into, like, these more balancy Sun teams. Like, that could probably just be the case. Anyways, yeah, this really does feel like just like an Aerodactyl Sylveon Cleanup Crew team, but like with a Dragonite on there as an alternative. So that's interesting. Let's look at metagame, because I think that beyond that, like, oh my god, is that a Mudsdale? Hold on. That's a Mudsdale. Curse Mudsdale got top 32. Oh no, it was 35th. Okay. We see a 3-attack Rock Slide Blaziken, that's pretty standard. We have a Life Orb Flower Trick Masquerada, a Scarf Golden Go, a White Herb Scale Shot Superpower Extreme Speed Dragonite. We have Sylveon with Hyper Voice, Quick Attack, Hyper Beam Detect, and a Mudsdale with Citrus Berry, Earthquake, Heavy Slam, Protect, and Curse. I'm trying to think what that's for. The team, I guess that's like the Trick Room matchup. That makes sense. Like that is a Trick Room matchup. A lot of Pokemon on Trick Room do not want to have to deal with Mudsdale, especially at +1. Technically, yeah, this is just because a lot of the team's too fast and doesn't have a way of dealing with Trick Room. You know, Golden Go doesn't like Torkoal, Masquerade doesn't like Torkoal, Blaziken doesn't like Farigiraf and Torkoal. Like, the duo just deal with it really effectively, and Dragonite like doesn't hate it, but it doesn't love it either. Mudsdale has to just be anti-Trick Room tech, because, you know, after you get a Curse off, your Earthquake's hitting like a truck, even though this thing doesn't have like the greatest attack stat. I'm pretty sure it's like 100 something. Let me see. Mudsdale, yeah, 125 attack. That's actually really good. It's got really good bulk, 100 HP, 185. You'd think it'd be leftovers, though. The leftovers aren't taken, from what I can tell. Where is it? Yeah, leftovers isn't taken. You would expect it to be leftovers. Heavy Slam at +1 certainly one-shot Sylveon. Let me double-check that. Because Mudsdale's really slow. Yeah, Mudsdale is 35 speed. That's going to be slower than everything except for Torkoal, basically. And it'll eat a hit from Torkoal, I'm sure. So, Sylveon, do you one-shot this thing with Heavy Slam? It's a Brave Nature. Heavy Slam. Let's assume 32 attack. Yeah, no boosts. It just one-shots, and we saw that it's inner focus, so it can't be intimidated. That is just a consistent Sylveon answer. That's cool. Yeah. As far as the metagame goes, number one Pokemon in usage is still King Gambit, followed by Charizard, Garchomp, Incineroar, Basculegion, Floette, Eternal, Whimsicott, Sylveon, Sneasler, Venusaur, Sinistcha, Farigiraf, Raichu, 13th, Staraptor, 14th. That's really interesting. And like Pokemon that are kind of popping off that I think a lot of people didn't expect to. Mousehold's still doing quite well. And Gengar. Gengar is doing really good right now, especially considering it won the whole thing. So yeah, this is a very interesting VR. I think that this might be one of our better... I think the last two VRs have been very good looks into, like, what could win the World Championship. Because when you really look at these last two VRs, it really just has been a greatest hits of the past event, you know? So, that's just my thoughts. I just want to talk about that before we wrapped up stream and probably turn into a video for the second channel. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. If you watched it on the second channel, let me know what you think is going to win Worlds, because we're going to be recapping these tournaments every week until Worlds happens. So, yeah. If you're watching on the YouTube channel. Goodbye.